Welcome back to the Delivering More platform, folks. I'm your host, Ben Alkire. Thank you so much for your continued viewership morning, afternoon, and evening. We appreciate it, as always. If you could hit that subscribe button down below, that's going to help us out more than you could ever know. I have another amazing driver spotlight to bring to you folks today. I have a driver joining us from Raleigh, North Carolina. He's celebrating his 2-year anniversary on the Deliver That platform, and in that time frame, he has taken 1,723 deliveries, delivered $565,000 worth of food, and driven over 11,000 miles. Welcome to the spotlight, Ed Edmondson.
Hey, Ben, good to see you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you joining me today. Thanks for rocking the polo. Looks great on you.
Thank you.
Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm gonna throw out a quick random question here. Are we a Tar Heel or a Blue Devil? Does that matter to you at all?
I would say Tar Heel.
Okay. Okay. Easy enough to get it rocking and rolling. Ed, we're going to knock out a little this or that segment to get us nice and loosened up. All right, a little icebreaker. I'm going to give you two options, I should say. You pick one or the other, and we'll run it down from there, okay?
Got you.
All right, so we're going to start it out. Ed, this or that, early mornings or late nights?
Late nights.
Okay. What's a late night look for you? Like midnight, 1, 2, 3 a.m.? How late are those late nights?
Midnight-ish. If I go to sleep too early, I'll end up waking up in the middle of the night. So if I fall asleep by midnight, I'm good.
Okay. Get a good 6, 7, 8 hours in. I like that. How about in your free time, maybe? Would you prefer books or movies?
Movies.
All right. I love that. Do you have a favorite movie of all time off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I really enjoyed Boys in the Hood. That was one of my favorites.
Okay. Is that Cuba Gooding?
Yes.
Hell
Yes,
yeah.
yes. That was one of my
Okay.
favorites. Yes.
Hell yeah, I like that. What about in terms? So obviously you do this gig work for a living, but if you're going on a road trip, would you prefer to be the driver or the passenger?
Passenger. Definitely the passenger. In
Interesting.
my early,
Interesting.
yeah, in my earlier days, when I was a little younger, the driver all the way, but now the passenger. Yeah,
Okay, I like that too. How about if you're gonna order a pizza, what are your favorite pizza toppings?
favorite toppings: sausage and onion and extra cheese.
Extra cheese. Hell yeah. You got a favorite pizza chain or like a local shop you hit up?
Uh, Back home in the Bronx, there was a place called Nick's, and that was my favorite. Very well known, Nick's Pizza. Out here in Raleigh, I've only been here for about 6 years now. I don't have one yet out here.
Okay. Fair enough. What about you're a New York guy, so this might be a good topic for us. You have a favorite musical artist?
Yeah, um, going back, but Heavy D was my favorite. Heavy D.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's
We grew up in the same hometown. So he put Mount Vernon on the map, and he was my favorite.
hell yeah, that's respectable answer. Last one and then we'll get into the thick of things here. If you're going to order food yourself, would you go pick it up or would you have it delivered?
Pick up. For some reason, I like to just go pick up myself versus having it delivered.
I'm the same way. You don't gotta explain that part of things to me. I'm the same way. I'm a little cheaper, a little quicker. I like pickup as well. Ed, I appreciate you joining me today, man. It's about 3 p.m. in the afternoon here, so hopefully you got a couple deliveries in during the lunchtime rush here today. But you have a ton of experience here in the gig economy. You got Uber, Lyft, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart. You've been in the game, I think it's up for like 40 plus years at this point in time. So what's your introduction to the space? How'd you get started in the gig economy?
Well, I've been in the service industry for 40 years. I've been in the gig economy since 2019. Um, in 2018, I retired from my W-2, which I was at for 32 years. And I didn't know what to do after that. My daughter mentioned Uber, and I was really against it. I'd never imagined I'd do Uber, but started doing Uber, and I enjoyed it, but it only happened for a couple of months, and then the pandemic happened. So I shut everything down then. And once the pandemic was over, I decided to try DoorDash, and I enjoyed that even more. So food is where I'm at. No more ride sharing. I'm done with the ride sharing. So
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I've asked a handful of people this question. I think your answer might be a little similar, but is there a reason you prefer food delivery over rideshare?
yes, with ride share, the anxiety of not knowing who my next passenger is going to be, who I'm picking up next, it's always a little anxiety. Even though 99% of my rides were perfectly fine, you just never know who's getting into your car the next ride. With food, there's no problems. No one, food doesn't talk back to you. So I enjoy food much more than passengers.
Yeah, yeah, a little easier temperament. I would say just picking up food. Um, what about so I mean, so 2019 you get into Uber, post COVID you do DoorDash, you end up stumbling and I think you meet a deliver that driver at a restaurant and they introduce you to the platform and then you take your first delivery. And obviously, we're doing catering delivery. You're used to the per meal side of things, and you come onto a platform where now you're asked to do this whole setup portion of a delivery, which you're not fully experienced in. Was there any anxiety going into that first delivery? Where you're like, whoa, now I got to set up for the customer. I got to make the food look good. I'm not just dropping it off at a doorstep and leaving.
Yes, there absolutely was. There was anxiety from point A to point B. Uh, just packing the food properly in the restaurant, driving it to the customer, praying that when I opened my bag, the food would still be in one place, not all over the place. Then the setup. Fortunately, the customer just showed me the kitchen and let me do my thing and set it up. I was hoping they wouldn't be standing right over my shoulder because I wasn't sure where I wanted to put what, but everything worked out and we moved on to the next.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm glad to hear your first delivery experience was easier than maybe you anticipated a little bit. Since you spent, so now I think your 2 year anniversary is at the end of this is recording end of November. This is going to end up releasing about first week of December. So by the time this was released, you'll have celebrated your 2 anniversary on the Deliver That platform. So thank you for spending your time with us and putting all this extra effort in for us while you're out there on the road. Obviously, we appreciate it, and our restaurant partners appreciate that as well. But I mean, after 2 years of experience, you've done 1,700 deliveries, over $500,000 worth of food delivered, over 10,000 miles driven. Like those are crazy statistics. I feel like to put up in that small of a time frame. Are there any easy pieces of advice you feel like you could give out there to new drivers to find success, not only with Deliver That, but in this catering realm as well?
Just keep striving and giving it your best, That's what I did. I never imagined that my numbers would be that high, $500,000 worth of food, but yeah, it's crazy. Um, but just keep striving, keep your phone in your hand on the Deliver That platform because it's hard to catch these offers. Thankfully, I was promoted to an elite driver, so things are a little easier. I get more opportunity now. But before that, I just had to keep the app open and listen out for the alert and do what I can because it beat doing the little $5 and $6, DoorDash deals that I was doing. So that's my, advice. Just keep striving and keep that app open and you'll get work.
What about, do you have any like tips of the trade at this point in time? Like when you go to a restaurant and things are packaged a certain way, or any back roads in Raleigh? Like, are there any tips and tricks you've developed yourself that have made your life easier in terms of the delivery side of things?
Hmm. Pretty much just knowing your customers and paying attention to certain places you go to, paying attention to the entrances and the places to park at, so that when you get to go to that, find shortcuts that you didn't know existed, but just try to remember that. so that life is more easier the next time you have to, hit that customer again. Um, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm well aware parking can be a pain, especially when you're dealing with like hospitals and things of that nature. It's always a very chaotic in nature. What about I know in the questionnaire you mentioned Wegmans being a favorite partner of yours. Do you have any other like a handful of restaurant brands or any brands you could highlight that you really love to deliver for out there in Raleigh?
Yeah, let's see. Well, Wegmans, I'm there practically every day because we have four Wegmans in my metro. But other than that, we have BB Bop, um, Smash Burger, Red Robin. There's quite a few, but I spend most of my time in Wegmans now. Most of my time is spent at Wegmans now. Um, Between the four stores, I get stops pretty much every day.
Hell yeah, yeah, that's great to hear. And you mentioned, I know BB Bop updated their branding pretty recently. Now they have like the boxes, and Red Robin's pretty notoriously known for like the bright red boxes they ship out the burgers in. Is there like any importance factor to you when it comes to the packaging side of things? Are there things that you notice restaurants do really well, and then you go into some restaurants and you think like, man, I wish they packaged this a little bit better?
Yes, well, the boxing, I wish everybody did that, but unfortunately, it's not like that because that was a great thing to do. But some restaurants, especially when you're talking about beans, some restaurants pack it very nicely. They saran wrap it, just do what they're supposed to do. And some restaurants just throw it in a pan. And of course, if you know beans, sometimes they're notorious for leaking. So I appreciate the restaurants that take the time out to really, package their product nicely to make it easier for the drivers to transport from point A to point B, so that when we get in front of the customer, we don't open our bags and see food all over the place. That's not a good sight.
Yeah, yeah, I've had a handful of bags ruined in my time with Deliver That, to say the least. I've had a handful of them ruined. What about like a favorite delivery experience? Have you ever gone to like a new office or a new neighborhood where you'd never been before and you like showed up and you're like, dang, like this was here the whole time? Like, has taking deliveries showed you new parts of town or new experiences that you thought you'd never experienced before?
Yes, I definitely, being that I've only been here for about 5 years, 6 years, I've definitely learned my way around now, seeing a lot more of North Carolina than I did before I started with Deliver That. So that's definitely a plus. And I'm seeing different restaurants. I get to take my family out to different restaurants that I never knew existed. So that's a good thing, you know. Um, yeah, so that's a good thing. Just getting to learn different restaurants that never existed, and then going back and trying them and getting to know different foods. Um, get to experiment with different foods. That's a positive. So that's a good thing I've gotten out of delivering for Deliver That.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think there's obviously I think even through like platforms like Easy Cater and Olo and all these marketplaces now that we siphon deliveries from basically or the deliveries that are sent to us. There's new brands I see just in Can I've been in Canton, Ohio for 30 years. I've never lived anywhere else and I see new brands popping up like every single day. I'm like, dang, I gotta go try that. So I'm in the same boat there with you. Ed, in terms of the delivery game, I don't have a ton more to touch on. I think obviously 2 years on the platform. I think your numbers just speak for themselves, right? I mean, you're $500,000 worth of food over 1,700 deliveries. That's about an average order cost of $326, which is basically what we say the average order for a catering order usually is, right about that 300 to 350 mark. Have you ever? Well, I guess let's start here. Do you have a largest catering delivery you've ever taken in terms of dollar amount?
Yes, the largest delivery I've ever taken was just under 3,000. I think $2,800. I had one for $4,700, but I had to release that. There's no way I would have been able to fit all that in my car. Would have taken a few trips, so I didn't take that. But the few that I have taken, $2,700, $2,800, yes.
What was that process like? Like, what kind of vehicle do you have? How many bags did you use? Was it chaotic, or did you feel like it was easy and you knocked it out of the park?
Um, well, I have two vehicles. I have the vehicle that I use every day, which is a smaller vehicle that doesn't burn gas. But when I have large orders, I use my SUV, which is helpful. And those were both Wegman deliveries. Most of my large orders are Wegman deliveries. So it definitely filled up the truck. Definitely filled it up. Used every available space I had to get there. But the delivery end of it was perfectly fine because it was just delivering on the customer's porch to their house. He orders often actually, and it only goes to a porch. I don't go in the house or anything. So that part of it is perfectly fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right. A little more difficult to pick up than at the delivery. We'll take that every time. We'll take that every time. I got a closing question for you, Ed, that you mentioned on our questionnaire here that I think would be interesting to bring up. In your spare time, you're a bit of a bowler.
Yes, yes.
I got a few questions in terms of bowling, and we'll start here. Have you ever bowled a 300? I think that's the most obvious question to ask.
Yes, I have. I've bought a couple of 300s. Yes. I used to spend a lot of time bowling, especially in my younger years. I don't do it as much now that I moved here to North Carolina, but I used to do it at least 3 to 4 times a week back in New York and New Jersey. And yeah, that was a thing I did. That was a thing I did pretty often. Yeah, I
Hell yeah.
miss it. Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah, yeah. Probably in like a bowling league or something. I imagine going 3, 4 times a week. What do you have like a for an aspiring bowler? Anyone out there watching? I don't know. Someone might be out there watching who loves bowling like you do. I'm not the best bowler. I actually used to cry when I would go with my family because I got gutter balls so often. Traumatic experiences for me. But if there's an aspiring bowler out there, do you have a tip to how to put that ball right where you want it to go?
Well, a lot of people that don't take bowling seriously don't realize that there are marks on the lane that you can actually look at and aim at, which will help you get your ball right to where you want to get to. So you have to look at those marks on the alley. A lot of people just throw the ball and not look at the marks and don't realize they're there. So it's harder to, get the ball to the head pin to get a strike. So you definitely have to use those marks. You definitely have to have your own bowling ball if you want to take it seriously. You get a couple of bowling balls, and you got to practice. You got to practice. You just can't go in and just roll the ball, but you got to actually practice and work on your game. And well, you know it, you're a professional bowler.
Yeah, and you got a couple 300s under your belt like Ed here. Man, Ed, I appreciate your time talking to me today, man. This is an easy conversation. I greatly appreciate your time you spent on Deliver That platform. Hopefully you stick around for years and years to come. Obviously, we'd love to have you. But yeah, man, I mean, I still can't get over the numbers, man. 1,700 deliveries, $500,000 worth of food, 10,000 miles driven in 2 years. I don't know that I've seen numbers like that before prior to this interview. But yeah, man, it's unbelievable what you're doing. I know the customers and the restaurants out there obviously appreciate you as much as we do. So just from everyone at Deliver That, man, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. And I'll be here a lot longer, hopefully, definitely. But thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.